Hello students, welcome back. Today's topic of discussion is the techniques of scientific management proposed by F.W. Taylor. Before scientific management principles were introduced, workers used to plan their work and worked under supervisors. Planning and also by doing by workers themselves, though under the supervision created problems in productivity. Taylor advocated separation of planning from doing. Planning should be the task of supervisors and workers should only perform the work. The first technique that Taylor advocated was functional foremanship. He introduced the concept of functional foremanship, which violated the principle of unity of command that was laid by Fayol. As planning was separated from doing, Taylor advocated that activities of workers should be supervised by two sets of supervisors based on specialization of functions, as one supervisor cannot supervise all aspects of the work. This technique was broadly known as functional foremanship. Students, as per the chart which you can see, one set of supervisors were dealt with planning function and the other set dealt with the production function. Both the planning and doing, which means the production in charges, had 4 supervisors each, resulting in 8 supervisors who supervised finally the workers. As we go about it, as you can see, under the planning in charge, we have route clerk, who was given the responsibility of routing the path of the workers. He specified the route that workers should follow in performing the task, that is, how work moves from one machine to the other. In what sequence to complete the task. Next was instruction card clerk. Various instruction was for completion of the task, like which tools and equipments are to be used, at what speed the work had to be performed, and the other technical details were given by the instruction card clerk. Next was time and cost clerk. He specifies the time in which workers should perform the various work activities and also determines the cost at which work should be performed. Last one in this section was disciplinarian or discipline officer. He ensures the discipline that should be observed by the workers in the factory. He observed that workers would work according to the factory rules and regulations. He was responsible to oversee the cases of absenteeism and insubordination. The next set of supervisors were the production in charge. These set of supervisors, the production in charge had 4 set of supervisors. The first one being the speed boss. He ensured that the work is done on time. The speed at which various operations are performed should be in accordance with the standards laid for time taken to complete the task. Gang boss. He performed the preliminary operations regarding how workers should work on the machine. He was responsible for allotting the resources and arranging them in the workplace. Repair boss. He ensured that security and maintenance of machinery on which work is performed were taken care of. Workers should keep the machines in perfect order by taking proper care and perform maintenance activities like regular oiling and checkups. The last one in this section was inspector. He ensured that the work is done according to the standards laid by the planning in charge. The next segment was the standardization and simplification of work. In order to ensure uniformity in work operations, work should be standardized. Taylor advocated that everyone should work according to the same standards framed in respect of time, cost, amount of work, working conditions, and quality of work, etc. Standardization determines similar methods and techniques for production, and it also maximizes the efficiency with which work is performed. Standards are always set after scientific observation and analyzing the present performance. The next technique was the analysis of work. Analysis of work was divided into 4 parts. The first one was the method study. Method study determined the best method of doing the work through optimum utilization of human and non-human resources. It determines the specifications and technological feasibility of the products and designs an operation system that is optimum in terms of product design, job, and process design. It results in optimum utilization of production facilities, reducing the material wastage and reduction of storage cost, which in turn resulted in low cost per unit of output. The next technique was the motion study. It analyzed the job by breaking it into various movements. It identified the essential movement and eliminated the unnecessary or wasteful movement. Motion study helped to find out the best way of doing the work. It studied the motions that a worker carries out while performing a job, eliminates unnecessary or wasteful motions that result in fatigue and extra time to perform the work. It arrives at the best combination of motions or the minimum time required to perform the work to improve efficiency. The time and motion studies together determined what is fair day's work and what is the best way of performing it. The next study was the time study. It analyzed the job by breaking it into different elements and determined the time taken to complete each element of the job. In order to increase the productivity, optimum time to perform each operation is determined. The optimum time is the minimum time taken to perform the task. It divided the work into smaller units or operations. It observed the time taken to perform each operation, and then the difference was recorded. The time study was done according to the average worker performance. Similar exercise is carried for the operations and standard time is found for completing the whole work. Time study helped in determining the fair day's work, that is, given the number of working hours in a day, how many units can be produced. Students, I repeat, time study helped in determining the fair day's work, which means 1 day's work, a fair amount of work, that is given the number of working hours in a day, how many units can be produced per worker in that fair day. This study was known as time study. The next technique was fatigue study. We all know, students, that we need rest periods, right? Rest periods help them regain energy and bring change in the quality of performance. This increased the productivity and profit. In order to increase the capacity to work to their maximum potential, workers required rest between the work activities. The amount of rest and the frequency of rest intervals helps in removing fatigue and enhances their work potential. Elimination of unnecessary motion from the work eliminated some amount of fatigue also, which we studied in the time and motion study, right? This increased the efficiency of the worker and contributed to his and the organizational welfare in terms of productivity, profits, and wages. The last one and the most important one was the differential piece wage system. According to differential piece wage system, higher wage rate was paid to workers who finished the work in less time than the standard time. This standard time was determined in the time study, students. Higher wage to productive workers and lower rate to those who produced less than the standard output. Higher wages to productive workers and lower rate to those who produced less in the standard time. In fact, those getting less could also look for alternative jobs as labor supply was scarce at that time. This system of incentive increased the wages by 30 to 100%. Students, I will discuss an example of it when we discuss it in the class. For example, still I would like to give you one example. If workers are paid 0 per unit if they produce less than or equal to the standard output, and rupees 11 if they produce more than the standard output. Wages of A who produced 100 units and wages of B who produced 120 units would be 100 into rupees 10 is equal to rupees 1000 and 120 is equal to rupees 11 would be rupees 1320. Thus, in this case, A would be motivated to produce more and B would be motivated to maintain his production to earn more. So students, differential piece wage system was one method which motivated the employees to work more and earn more and maintain the standards of performance. Thank you, students. I will come back with another video on Henry Fayol. Till then, stay safe and stay at home.